Hey YouTubians, it's Tony here from We Try Anything, channel likes try anything so you don't have to. As you can see from the screen behind me, we are taking a look and reviewing and talking about the CASIO W-202 digital watch and seeing if it's any good. And as you can see, I've got it here. Now this watch has a module number of 3294. Now this video will be looking around this very watch. We'll be talking about the materials, the design of the watch. We'll be mentioning the functions of this watch as well as the features of this watch as well, because this watch is quite feature packed if anything. And also what we'll do is we're going to pop it on our wrist and say what it's like to wear. So with all that out the way, let's look a bit closer at the CASIO W-202 that I got featured here and I got featured here. First of all, let's talk about if this watch is for you and your wrist by talking about the CASIO W-202's sizes. Now the case size from the left hand side to what would be the right hand side, you are looking at 35mm. If you want to include the pushers into the equation, you are looking at just a hair under 37mm. Now the top of the watch or the bottom, or what's known as lug to lug, you are looking at about 39mm. Depth wise, let's just turn that watch around, you are looking at about 10mm, and that's from the case back to what would be the crystal at the top. Now the inner lug width, let's just turn the watch around a bit, you are looking at a size of about 18mm. And as we're just talking about the sizes, I just thought I'd show you the F91W next to it. Now I would say that it is comparable to the F91 in terms of sizes, and as I'm going to mention some of the other watches as well, this is the F105. Again, it's a comparable watch in terms of sizes. And finally, I'll show you the W86H, which we've got here, and again comparable as well. And these are all watches that I have reviewed, and they are watches I really do enjoy wearing. Carrying on with the talking about sizes and etc., I might as well just talk about the straps themselves in terms of sizes. Now they do flare out a little bit here at about 21mm, and they taper down to the bottom where you can see this plastic pin and buckle. Just here you are looking at about 16mm, and just here as well 16mm. So it's not a big watch really in terms of the sizing, and as I've shown you here, it is comparable to what would be the iconic F91W, just to give you an idea of sizing. So if you are looking at an F91W, then this isn't far off really. Now we've mentioned the sizes, let's talk about the materials that this watch is made up of. First of all, the strap, as we've just been finishing talking about the sizes, this strap is made up of a resin plastic, and I've got to say it's not a bad resin plastic altogether. I mean, you do get some watches where they do feel what would be a bit toy-like, but in this instance, including what would be the strap stay as well, it's not too bad really. It's nice and flexible, it's not too thin, and it doesn't feel cheap in any way. And if anything, I really do like what you've got going on here in terms of the details or the detailing on the strap. You've got some nice design elements going on there, as you do on the back, which is just very simple really in terms of the just extrude a little bit there to the sides really. So not a bad strap overall, and I've got to say it does add to the overall look of the watch. Now in terms of the case, what you're looking at is the usual resin plastic. Now resin plastic, as you can see here, will pick up scratches, so I'm just trying to show you in the light, and as you can see the scratches you have got going on around the case. So this watch has seen a bit of action in its time. And also on the what will be the dial window or the digital display window, it is an acrylic crystal as well. So in the light, as I'm just trying to show you here, you can see that it has picked up scratches. Now I have used some polywatch on this, and I haven't gone to town on it, but these scratches do stay, so they are quite deep really. So again, if you are looking at a watch of this type, then please understand that it will pick up scratches along the way. The other thing to mention is that this watch also has a stainless steel case back to it as well, which have got 4 little Phillips screws which you can undo to gain access to the battery, which has a 3-year battery life I may add, and also it just allows you access to the module. So it's quite as usual with Casio and changing batteries, it should make the whole process very easy. Now in terms of the pushers, they are metal polished, but in the instance of this watch, the pushers are a little bit different to what you would get on watches within this kind of sector, which is F105, the W86, and I'll just finish on the iconic F91W, where the pushers seem to be the other way around. One thing to mention is that it does have an extra pusher here which allows you to adjust certain elements of the watch like the time, date, alarms, etc. So it's quite nice in a way that you don't accidentally push the adjust button there. Now let's carry on with the front of the watch. Let's talk about the overall design of the W202 and its display. And as you can see, this watch does have a curvature to the left hand side and the right hand side of the watch. Now, it may not be to everyone's taste, especially when you compare it to the Casio F91W, which is a bit more box-like in terms of how it looks. But to me, I quite like it compared to the F91W, as it's a little bit different, it's a little bit overlooked, and it's just got a little bit more design to it. If anything, it's not as boxy or anything like that. And yeah, I don't mind it at all, but for some other people they may have an issue with it. But again, it's just a nice little design touch to this watch. Now, the only thing I will say, compared to, again, I'll show you, say let's go with the W86 in this instance, it may look a little bit more smaller on your wrist because there is a curvature to the sides of the watch, then say something like the W86 or the F105, because they are a little bit more boxy in terms of how they look. But again, you do get used to it. And I was wearing this watch just for about a day or so, just to get a full-on feeling for how it wears and stuff like that. And at first, compared to the watch I was wearing, which is what will be May's watch that I'm doing for a 30-day trial or daily driver review, it did look a bit small at first, but I got used to it after that, like the initial difference of the watch being on my wrist. And again, I didn't find it a problem really. So if you enjoy wearing the F91W or wearing a smaller watch, then this watch should appeal to you as well. Now, as I've mentioned, overall I do like the styling of this watch, and also what I do like about this watch as well is that the decals don't shout out as they normally do on other Casio watches. And I know Casio like to do it on other watches where it makes the watch look a bit more sporty and a bit more, I don't know, just a little bit more standout. But in this instance, I do find that the decals, where it's got the water resistance and the illuminator and stuff like that, they do tend to blend into the rest of the colouring of this watch. So obviously you've got the grey framing of the digital display, and what you've got there is the letter decals there being more or less the same colouring as the grey framing to this watch. So I just think that it allows you just to concentrate on the time as opposed to everything shouting out about this watch, and I do like that for that instance. Now let's move further more onto what would be the display of this watch and just talk about the actual design of the LCD display. Now, for the actual display of this watch, I do find this an easy watch to read. The typeface used for this watch is a nicer, thicker typeface without it being too thick. And what I like about the digital display in this watch is that you've got little extra elements that you don't normally get on. Again, I'll pick out the F91W, and that is, you obviously with like the F91W, you can see it's just a little bit more thicker, and I mean obviously what you've got here to the right, you can see it's a little bit thinner on this watch. And I wouldn't say it's harder to, is it harder to make out? Yeah, I find the left a little bit easy to read. But the other added element that the F91W or the other watches that I've shown you does have, and I'll just move the F91W off, is that you do have the inclusion of what will be the date. So you've got the day of the week, you've got the month within the year, and you've got the date within the month, which you don't see on the other watches that I've shown you in this video. And I do like that little aspect of that, because what it does hide as well, it hides the other kind of things that are under the hood of this watch, or the other functions that this watch has, which are a lot more in terms of the other watches that I've shown you on this video. Overall, I think it's an easy watch to read, and I do like the way that the information is laid out. It's laid out simply like the other watches, and it's just easy to get the time from. Now, the other thing to mention with the LCD display is that backlight. Now, if I move the watch over to the left, I'm going to show you to the right, just in darkness and semi-darkness, how the light looks. But what I'll show you, it is quite bright. So you do get two LED amber lights just emitting left and right of this watch, and they do have a slight delay on them as well. So when you press them, you can let go of the button, and they do last for about, I've measured about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds maximum. So I just press it again a few times, and as you can see to the right, you can see that there is a lot in terms of light that is generated from them two LED bulbs, as it were, on the left and right of this display. And it does make this watch really easy to read in darkness and semi-darkness, so it's a great plus to this watch. Now, the other thing, while I'm on it, the backlight will also flash with the alarm going off. It'll also flash when the countdown timer, because believe it or not, unlike the other watches I've featured in this video, this does also have a countdown timer. It will also flash when the countdown timer's near its end of its elapsed time, and also it'll flash when the hourly signal's been activated, so it'll flash when the alarm chimes to indicate a new hour. So that's something you don't get on any other watches that I've reviewed on this channel, and I've got to say it is quite unique to this watch, and it's such a little watch that has these little features. It just made me go, wow, my god, it does this. I know it sounds simple, but again, it was quite surprising, because as someone who's reviewed or featured a lot of Casio watches on this channel, you do tend to get an idea of what's within their modules, and that little feature did come as a surprise, and a very nice surprise at that. As well as talking about the backlight, there is some other features to mention on this watch, including what's included within the module. Now you can do 12 and 24 hour time formats that you can change between the two, and it's also known as military time in the USA, so that will allow you to do that. And also, as well as the backlight, you do get 50 meters of water resistance as well built into the watch. And as well as all that, you also get features like an alarm. So when I press the alarm mode button, you get what's known as a multifunctional alarm, which can be set as either a daily alarm, which is got set here. You can also change these little parameters here, which allow you to do an alarm that is set for a specific date, an alarm that can be used within a month, and a whole host of other things. And as well as that, you can also set it up, if I just quickly press the two buttons, where you can see both the alarms here. You can see the bell indicating what would be an hourly signal as well. So this watch does have a lot of elements, or a lot of facets to what would be the alarm on this watch. Now moving along, obviously you do also have a countdown timer, and what I like about the countdown timer, which you don't get on the other watches I've featured earlier on in this video, is you can get the time, or the local time, or what time you have set this watch at, featured to the top right hand corner. So you've always got an inclination when you are using the timer, and the stopwatch, you'll see the same premise going on there, where it does feature the time on the top right hand corner. But the countdown timer, if I press the start button, it will allow you to count down from a range of 24 hours, which you can set up to 24 hours as well. You can set it yourself. And also it will allow you to put on what is known as auto repeat. Now that auto repeat function is a function I've seen on a lot of other watches that I've featured on the channel, and they tend to be more sports orientated watches. But for this watch to have it at this size and at the price that I've mentioned, which is about £25, I think it's a great little feature of this watch. So just to quickly say, auto repeat, if you are into interval training, so say for example you do 5 minutes of reps, and then you want a 5-minute break, and then 5 minutes of reps again, you can set this watch to count down then 5 minutes, and then the auto repeat function will count down again from 5 minutes again. So it's a great little feature if you are into interval training. So again, this watch has it, which is fantastic, and I just reset that, which is easily done. Now just quickly showing you, the watch also features a stopwatch, which has a measuring capacity of up to 24 hours. It'll allow you to do a split time, as well as obviously the elapsed time, which I'm measuring here, and it'll allow you to do first and second place times with a measuring unit of 100th of a second that you can see here. So it is quite a full featured stopwatch, and especially with it going up to 24 hours, just fantastic. Now with all that out the way, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this watch on my wrist and say it's like to wear. Now here it is on my 6.5-inch wrist, and I've got to say this watch, like the F91W that I've featured earlier on in the video and the other watches, fits really well on my wrist. Now to some people they may say it's a bit small. I mean, my wrist is 6.5 inches, and yeah, I'll go admit, at first, especially when I've worn bigger watches in the past, or literally worn a bigger watch just before I put this one, it did come as a bit of a, oh, it's a little bit small, but you do get used to it. And as I don't know if you've seen any other videos that I've produced which have the F91W worn over 30 days, I've got to say I ended up not wanting to take that watch off, because it didn't have any hand inhibition. It didn't get in the way of any hoodies or anything like that, you know, any sleeves that went over the watch. And this watch is exactly the same. And this watch is only 25 grams in terms of weight, so it is a very lightweight watch to wear. Now the strap, very comfortable to wear. Nothing pinching, nothing nipping at my quite, well, I would say fairly hairy wrist. And I've got to say this watch just wears so well on my wrist. I really do enjoy wearing it. So on the wrist, comfortable, easy to wear. And also what I do like about it, even though the strap is quite long there, I mean there is quite a few holes to allow you to fit it onto what would be a bigger wrist. It doesn't poke out too much, and obviously the strap stay can keep it in place, which I do find another bugbear when it does poke out. This one, not so much really. So again, it's another watch that I'm looking forward to wearing for my 31 day trials that I do like to post on YouTube. So it gets that massive thumbs up from me in terms of wearing it. So what do I think about this Casio W-202 digital watch that I've got in my hands here and on the screen behind me? I really like it. I'm not going to hide the facts really. It's feature packed, it's got so much going for it, there's loads of functions that this watch has, and it is for the price of £25 at the time of recording this video, so you do get a lot more from your money. And also, when you compare it to the likes of the Casio F91W, the F105, the W86, I think there's a W59, you get so much more compared to these watches. And also what I will say, there is a slight bias because I do like the F91W, the F105 and all the other watches I mentioned, and wearing them, I do love wearing them, I really do. And this again falls into that bracket in terms of size, so yeah, it's such a great watch. So my ending kind of thoughts on this watch: it's a great watch, you get so much with it really for that £25. Yeah, it might not be to everyone's taste and it might not fit everyone, but I wouldn't hesitate in recommending this watch. It's got that thumbs up from me really. And if you are ever in the market for a watch like this and a watch of this size, then as it says on Reddit, have a look at this watch. It is an overlooked gem, to quote someone on Reddit, because I do think there's just so much to this watch, and it's the only watch, I'll be honest with you, in recent times where I've gone through all the functions, just seeing what it can do and what it's capable of, and following the instructions as well, and I've gone, wow, it does all this in such a small kind of shape, and obviously for the price that it's out at, I just think you just get so much for your money. It is a bit of a wow, it's got so much going for it. So again, great watch, and if you ever get the chance to look at it and try it on, I don't think you'll be disappointed. So there you go, that's the Casio W-202. So if you like this video and it was of some help to you, then please click on the like button, it always helps the channel. If you want to see more videos from the We Try Anything channel, then click on the subscription button below. And thank you for watching this video, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Goodbye.